Can we start? Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's working now. So thanks for coming. It's nice to be here with you all. My name is Ronaldo Christofoletti. I'm from the Federal University of São Paulo in Brazil. Also, I'm chair of the group of experts in ocean literacy for the IOC UNESCO, the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. And it's a huge pleasure to be here with you for this session where we'll talk a little bit on the ocean climate nexus, but in a view for education and educating the next generations of leaders. So we'll do this in a very discussion way, somehow informal, and hopefully we have time to open for some Q&A at the end. I just want to quickly introduce for you our panelists and explain a few changes. So we have Francesca Santoro from the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission and coordination of all the ocean literacy activities globally. Then we have Tânia Mandiga, from that's national director from Angola, and she is coming. I know she's trying to call me, so she's coming soon. The secretary, Marcia Barbosa, was unfortunately not able to join us. Then we have Ometto from FAPESP, the Climate Change Program. FAPESP is a funding agency from São Paulo State in Brazil. And then, luckily, we also had the pleasure to have Shamin that is joining us, and she has a lot of hats that she'll bring early, but she also was the founder of the Hope of Hopes. Doors of Hope Foundation. She was the owner, and then I apologize because as the slides were done a lot of time before, so her name will not be there. Okay, just bringing a quick overview from what we'll be talking about. I mean, in the copy, I think this is what we have been discussing for more than 1 week. In 2023, this is very clear. There is not one single month during this year that we don't have climate disasters in the news all the time. Particularly, there is one that I'm not hearing a lot during the COP. There is the increase of the mean seawater temperature. And this is really important. I want to highlight that if you look at that graphic, in the last 40 years, the mean annual seawater temperature changed about 0.6 Celsius degrees. And just this year, the mean water temperature is being 0.5 above the temperature from last year. So it's actually having, this year, the same change we have over the past 40 years. And what's going on? How all this also linked to the climate nexus agenda. And one of the points here is that if we know all of this data and all the science behind of it, but to make the change we need the change of behavior of the society. It's not only about our scientific data, that is extremely important. We need to continue with all of this and know more, but we also need the science being used by the society. And for that, they need to understand their relationship with the ocean, with the climate, and how their life is impacted. Just to bring this data that was from a survey that was done in Brazil nationally, and then when we were asking if people understand that they are influenced by the ocean, we had 26% of the population that do not understand they are influenced by the ocean, by oxygen or food or economy. But let's look in the positive way. We have 74% that can understand. However, when the question was, how about your actions? Do it influence the ocean? The number increases for 40% of the population that do not understand their actions' influence on the ocean. And we have very similar data from surveys like this that were done in Canada and the UK. So how will people change behavior if they don't know they are related to that? I think that is the question. And then education comes to this, very quickly introducing this. We have several movements overall the world. This is one of them that I had the pleasure to coordinate. There's the All Atlantic Blue Schools Network. So the Blue Schools is a concept that was first born in Portugal, created in Portugal in 2017, where schools, they are empowered and they can make this discussion and they can bring the ocean to their actions, the curriculum. Tanya? Are you Tanya? Yeah. Please, Tanya, join us. Thank you so much. Sorry. No, you can put your things there.
So sorry.
No. I'm sorry, just started. So Tanya is the director of Marine Affairs and Sea Resources from Angola that is joining us. Thank you, Tanya. So the Blue Schools, they recognize in their local communities how they can do actions and projects where they link with sustainability and other topics. So we created the last 3 years in 16 countries in the Atlantic. We reached at this moment more than 4,000 teachers, more than 650 schools, and more than 107,000 students working on this, and stakeholders that are NGOs, organizations that I linked. And these Blue Schools in these countries, each of them are identifying their local reality at the local and national level and exchanging knowledge online. So you have the QR code there from a book that was just launched that brings how it was created and examples on how we move with that. Sorry that some of the slides are in Portuguese. For example, this is an example from a forum of the youth ambassadors that was done in Brazil during the COP26, where students from the schools, they were studying these discussions, and they were having sessions like that, discussing with scientists about topics on climate change. We have over 6 sessions during the week, and then we go empowering the groups. That moves for how can we engage with the communities so they can understand their relationship. So this is an example from the Ocean Literacy Science Fair. In Brazil, we have this movement once a year. We have 1 week in October that's for science and technology. With the support of the ministry, then this year, we had more than 140 schools that applied for more than 1,000 submissions from experiments or presentations done by students, teenagers and children. And at the end, it just happened now, we have more than 2,002 students involved in the activities and more than 23,000 members from the communities making this discussion. So those are movements that are going on that now, like, it's the creation of ocean literacy science clubs. So we'll give fellowships, small projects for that schools, 15 schools with small groups that will continue working with their community. So those are few of these examples, thinking in the movement from the All Atlantic Blue Schools in the different countries, how we move on. That said, and raised this point, I wanted to invite our first panelist, that is Francesca Santoro, that is the Senior Program Officer from the IOC UNESCO for Ocean Literacy, to bring her considerations and their points.
Hello. Well, first of all, I'm sorry for my voice, but this AC is killing me. So, but I'll do my best to convey the message, which is the most important thing for me. First of all, thank you to Ronaldo for organizing this session and for inviting me. We've been working for years now to get ocean literacy more prominently in the discussion across different topics. So our community is quite strong now, but what we need to do, I strongly believe, is to go outside of our community and bring the ocean literacy message. So that's one of the main objectives of the work that we are doing now, especially in the context of the UN Ocean Decade, which I think is proving to be really a driving force for the promotion of the ocean in different agendas. So not only the pure ocean agenda, but really across different agendas. So briefly, very briefly, what is ocean literacy? Is a concept that was developed in the US. It was a group of scientists and educators who actually started by the recognition and acknowledgement that there was very little ocean in schools, in curricula. And so they started to work on how to include more ocean topic across the curriculum. So not as a new topic, but really looking at how the ocean, and we know it's quite easy to bring the ocean in literature, in art, in science, in history. They worked together to develop this framework that was embraced by the IOC of UNESCO in 2017. I think we all agree, I mean, people from the ocean community, that 2017 was really a milestone year for ocean action. We had the first UN Ocean Conference in New York, promoted by Fiji and Sweden. And that was really the first time that we organized an ocean literacy side event, which I have to say, I disclosed this. It was refused at the very beginning, but then since I'm a very stubborn Italian person, I kept on saying, no, we have to have this. And so they gave us a very small room, for 30 people. And in the end, we had 110 people. I will always remember, people lying on the ground, because everybody wanted to hear about ocean literacy. And from that moment on, we got a lot of support from different countries, different organizations. And we got to the creation of a commitment which was called Ocean Literacy for All. So very briefly, I don't want to go into the details of this, but we are having a lot of discussions on those principles which were developed in the US. So I like to call them the ABC of ocean knowledge, what everybody should know about the ocean, starting from the first one, which I think is the most important one, which says that we only have one ocean. I think is, apart from being a scientific statement, is also very important for me because is a strong call to all of us to consider that our effort to protect the ocean must be a shared responsibility because we all are part of this big ocean. And then we have all the other principles, which I think stays. I mean, these were developed in the early 2000s, as I said, but I think they are still very useful as something that is agreed by the entire community. Then we also did some examples of adapting them to local context. For example, we developed a Mediterranean Sea literacy to highlight the characteristics of the Mediterranean Sea. So these are things that are very valuable for me. And also, more recently, I'm thinking a lot about that only principles about the connection between ocean and humans. So probably we can do better there because there are so many more things that we can say about humans-ocean connection. So more recently, we came up with a proposal which we called a blue curriculum. So we know that a lot of teachers, and Ronaldo showed the numbers, is quite amazing, are already working on ocean topics. But if you ask them, if you talk to them, and the majority of them will say, I don't feel so much at ease in talking about the ocean because I don't get training on the ocean. It's only done on a voluntary basis. So we thought, one of our major objectives must be to bring the ocean in a more structured manner in curriculum frameworks. And that's why we launched in 2022, on the occasion of the International Day of Education, a proposal for a blue curriculum, which for us is again, what I was saying before, a way of bringing ocean topic across other discipline. It's not another discipline, it's not another topic. We know that curriculum are already very busy, but really to show that the ocean is cross-cutting across many disciplines. So the proposal for the blue curriculum came about also in the context of big reflection on the future of education. After COVID, of course, the education sector was one of the most impacted sector, but it helped that community to think through what is the future of education. And as you know, UNESCO was leading that discussion. And one of the most important things that was mentioned in this discussion quite widely is that knowledge and awareness is only one of the components of the things that we have to do, but we need to work more on reconnecting young people to nature, to the ocean in this case. We need to also work to increase their competencies, their skills, their values, their emotions, because only those will really lead to a change. What are the ambitions for a blue curriculum? So, of course, including ocean literacy in the school curriculum, but not only, is also to support stakeholders to make informed decisions to address ocean literacy through formal education, and to prepare the theme of this side event, to prepare the next generation of blue professionals for environmental challenges. And last but not least, to empower government, policymakers, and educational stakeholders. So this slide is quite interesting because it shows how, again, what I was saying before, how ocean literacy is really cross-cutting across so many topics, including, of course, climate change, but of course also human rights, job creation, well-being, human well-beings, maritime sectors, of course, blue growth, but also urban planning and maritime planning. And more we are working on the linkages between ocean literacy and culture education. I take this opportunity to invite you all on December 13. We are organizing a first webinar on how we use living heritage, intangible cultural heritage, to teach about the ocean. There are so many things that we can do, opening up a bit our, boundaries and really working together because, as I was saying before, there is only one ocean. Ronaldo already talked about the Blue Schools Network. We are working together to see if we can create a global network where, and I would really second what Ronaldo said, we need to adapt locally what we do. But still, I think it would be good if we have a global framework for everyone willing to develop this kind of activity. And also using this opportunity to find some pilot cases for testing the blue curriculum. This is, the network that already exists, but we can expand this much more, I believe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesca, so much for the presentation and also for all the leadership we have in this movement globally. This is just bringing one of the ways where we can work in ocean literacy and consider from the education side and the formal education. But when we say about leadership, the education is one of the points, and we also have to consider how this links to the daily routine in a country or in a community, or if the governance. That's why I want to bring from this topic now, I would invite Tania to bring her considerations, her views from the experience from Angola, that has developed the Blue, is one of the countries with a Blue Schools network that has done an amazing work. And here I want to say thank you so much also for Tania, but for the Minister Carmen Santos, that is an amazing leadership. And they work in the ministry, and Tania is the director of, can you just pass this one, sorry. No, it's John Lima, sorry. Oh, okay. Tania is the director, the National Director for Marine Affairs and Marine Research, so that's linked to the blue economy as well. So knowing a group from the blue economy that led the creation of the Blue School is an amazing experience, and I would like to ask you to share your experiences and view, Tania. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tania. I like to share our experience. I'm from Angola. So point of view, ocean literacy crucial to development of the blue economy for several reasons. First one is understand the marine ecosystem. When you understand the complexity and of marine ecosystem, of the importance of preserving them, this is essential for the blue economy. Other issues is sustainable resource management, and the knowledge about the oceans allow for more sustainable management of marine resources, such as fishing and water mining and bioprospecting, which are a key component of blue economy as well. Innovation and technology is another aspect. Climate change mitigation with a full understanding of ocean strategy can be developed to mitigate the impact of climate change, which directly affect the marine economy. Education and the public awareness, like Dr. says something, and the increased public awareness of importance the ocean can lead to great support for sustainable policies and responsible business practices within the blue economy. Other issue that we work in is development for the policies, effective policies. We have in Angola the national strategy for the sea, and also we have marine spatial planning. Those two documents, those two instruments is important to improve the blue economy in Angola. And the last one is fostering sustainable tourism. The ocean literacy can drive the development of more sustainable coastal and marine tourism that respect marine ecosystem and benefit local economy. It's okay for me.
Yeah. Thank you, Tanya, so much. I always used to say that when we why this link from education to governance and blue economy, because when we think where is the next national director in 10, 15 years, or an UNESCO officer, or a scientist, or a president, they are now in the school. So if you are talking for climate change, that what we need to do in 2050, the ones that will be in this room in 2050, they are now in the school. So that's why we need to talk with them right now. And when I saw the examples from Angola linking all the blue economy with the schools and all, I mean, this is very strong examples and how we can start to make a change now that will come the results very soon in 10, 15 years. You wanna?
I want to say our concept for blue economy, because it's a little bit different the concept that used in Europe. Can I? Yes, okay. The blue economy in Angola includes the resource of coastal and aquatic marines, rivers, and lake environment, their respective economic sector, and interconnected policies that contribute to environmental sustainability, economic growth, and improving the quality of life of communities. That is our concept for blue economy in Angola.
Great. Thank you. That is a blue sustainable economy, and that is sustainable and inclusive economy. That's the discussion that's come up in many places in the world, and Angola is one of these examples. So congratulations. And that said, I would then like now to invite Gian. So Marcia is not here. So Professor Gian Ometto, from coordinator from the Program of Climate Change from FAPESP, the foundation from São Paulo, because education, governance, but science is the base of this. So Gian, please, can you share your views?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ronaldo. Thank you for organizing the sessions and invite us as well. It's a pleasure to be here, and I think that we we're on the ground to understand how the communication plays a role in this, how science plays a role in all this, and how funding plays a role in this, how we can bring this perspective to funding agents, science funding agents, which is the case of FAPESP in Brazil. FAPESP is so Brazil is a federation, and one of the states of Brazil, which is the state of São Paulo, has its foundation, which is called FAPESP. And we do carry a climate change program that does deal with issues on several sectors, including oceans. And not that oceans a sector, but a universe per se. So, so the thing is that pretty much we see. So science provide the base. It is a catalyst for behavior change in some perspective, but that has to be communicated somewhere in some way. And I think Ronaldo brought a great issue in terms of how this reach children and reach newcomers for this discussion, and who is going to be directly affected and who is going to make the change in the future. So how to bring this perspective into the funding scheme is quite challenging, and it has to work with governance, it has to work with different institutions, and has to work to educational universe. So science, in that perspective, need to be very embedded in several of the actions that we know that's not the only one. Science cannot be the only way of seeing things, but the whole perspective of the society brings science as a provider of robust information. And robust information are critical for decision making. So communication, as Ronaldo shows something similar, communication is just reaching different audience very strongly. So this is just a snapshot from recent newspaper reviews in Brazil. And a lot of this, if we look deep into it, it has science behind. But so the way of communicating the science and the perception of the new itself, the whatever is being conveyed by the population is very important. So what we do there, the program was established as a climate change program in 2008. So there's the whole evolution of what's going on in terms of funding research, and an important aspect is that it's getting closer and closer to communication. So this effort related to ocean education and how you educate based on such sort of information. So that goes along with the evolution and to the funding itself. So how we bring this to a call for proposal from the scientific community, how this is imprinted in the call for proposal. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge because science and education are, in a sense, pretty much it's deeply connected, and sometimes it's not. The government sometimes separate education and science. And this is a big issue in terms, when you bring to the funding scheme, how that actually we reconnect that in a perspective of a research project. So that's one of the challenges we face. So we deal not only as a program, not only with ocean shore, but we deal with the whole perspective of different areas. And one important aspect is the multidisciplinary perspective of this. I think Tanya brought a very important context, and Francesca as well, how you bring different disciplines, different views. We cannot deal with climate change questions or specific area questions with only one discipline. So we need to bring this, and not only in terms of scientific disciplines or educational disciplines, but also other sectors. So the transdisciplinary perspective of a funding scheme, but of a developing of an action to curb climate change impacts, for instance, is essential. So we try to bring this into the funding scheme. And for that, we do collaborate a lot. And we not only collaborate internally, we collaborate a lot with institutions throughout the world, most of them into the scientific funding scheme, but with this perspective in mind, the transdisciplinary, the multidisciplinary, the inclusion and the communication. And this has produced products in different perspectives, has dialogue with different things. So the idea is to have this as an open stage for different ideas or different perspectives to come and say, okay, so how we can bring this funding opportunities to these specific actions. So I think that was the basic what I would like to say, and I'm open for any questions. Thank you very much, and thanks for the invitation again.
Thank you, Jean, for bringing your points and experiences based on this climate change program, and highlight one of the key points that also even we are trying to do as having a panel of speakers like this, that is the transdisciplinarity. So if you want to change the world, we need science. But science and education goes together, because science is generating knowledge, but that knowledge needs to be used throughout the time, and that is education, and also the role of communication that just goes and straight away reach different communities. And with all that together, that is in the governance, in the governments, in the ministries, and helping to take shape. So that's the way we are trying to bring a little bit of these discussions. But of course, ultimately, all of this is to reach communities and making the change there. And that's why we have the happiness now to have with us Shamin, that is bringing her experience from this, and I wanted to share, because what's her experience. So Shamin Nyanda, she's from Tanzania, and once again, just want to explain, then we will not have the slides because this was dropped few weeks ago, and we changed the panel later. But Shamin is an environmental activist and social scientist, and the importance of the role of social scientists. I also wanted to highlight this. She's founder of the Doors of Hope Foundations, that is the pioneer in the establishment of Tanzania Ocean Climate Innovation Hub. And she's a youth advisor to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs on international policies and meaningful youth participations. So I think she represents here most what we consider about I will not even say the next generation of leaders, because you are a leader already, and you bring with you science, education, governance. So I would like you to share your experience.
Thank you very much. I don't know where to start from, but you know, we are being told that we are the last generation to save people and planet. And sometimes as a young person, I ask myself, how? How are we the last generation to save people and planet, yet we do not have resources, we do not have funding to do that. And also donors and partners do not trust the young generation. And also us being told that we are the future generation. We are the present. That's why we are here. 2050, I will not be 24. I'll be maybe 74. So how do we work together with this current generation, which is going to help build a future generation in terms of ocean climate or ocean conservation? So as a young person, I believe education is very important. It's very crucial. I have a quick question, which is a rhetoric question for you all. How many times have you seen young people carrying placards demanding for ocean finance or demanding for marine conservation? How many? Just by show of hands. How many young people have you seen out there carrying placards? We see them carrying placards on climate justice, human rights, adaptation, mitigation, wherever. How many have you seen talking about ocean? None. Do you know why? simply because they do not understand the ecosystems that come with the ocean. They do not understand the beauty of the biodiversity that is within the ocean. And how do we make them be a part of that? I'll give you an example. For the case of Tanzania, I work a lot with young people and children as well. So I do these amazing sessions with young children. I bring them to the ocean and I tell them to close their eyes, just closing your eyes and imagine what is in the ocean. And they literally try to mention what they see in the ocean. And then I ask them a follow-up question. Imagine if what you just saw in the ocean disappeared. What would the ocean look like? And they will tell you, oh, I feel sad, I do not feel good, it's so bad, blah, 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 all those kind of things. So that is the generation we want to empower them so that they know that it is just more than a responsibility, but rather than it's more of them taking up the challenge of wanting to be part of this thing without them necessarily being told, you are the last generation and you have to do this. But getting the support, getting the skills that they need. And recently, a few days ago, we had a session here, which was with the UN Secretary General Ocean Advisor, who was talking about the uneven distribution of resources when it comes to the African continent in terms of ocean science. And I asked a question, is there policies and frameworks that are preventing Africa to be part of it? And he said there are no policies or frameworks that are preventing Africa to be part of it. It's because we are not ready. For example, in Tanzania, we are literally surrounded by the Indian Ocean. We see the water every day, but then people cannot swim. Why? Because they do not have the knowledge. They do not understand the beauty that comes with the ocean. I believe all of us in here, we know the beauty that comes with the ocean. We know what it entails. We know how much it contributes towards humanity. We are all born in the waters, and we are raised in the waters. That is one of the books I'm writing, by the way. Born in the waters, raised in the waters. And I think it is high time we started putting young people at the forefront of advocating for ocean conservation. It is very, very important, very vital to educate them, let them understand these concepts, because I would not advocate for adaptation if I do not know what it means. I would not advocate for ocean science if I do not literally understand. So having the blue curriculum or the blue schools is a very good initiative to ensure that young people are also part of it. They engage and engage meaningfully, not being used as tokenisms. And today is our day, by the way. It's Youth Day. So we would want us to be there and speak on our behalf and not the, right now they don't want to be called the older generation. So I call them the experienced generation. So the experienced generation has to understand that we want to learn from you. You're welcome. We want to learn from you, right? We have to also learn from you because you also learned from someone. So it is high time you also shared your knowledge, shared your expertise and experiences. And for the young generation in here, you also have to be ready to learn. You also have to be ready to be guided. Of course, we have all the challenges that we talk about, finances and everything, but then partnerships is very important if you want to leverage and use the opportunities that are in the ocean. For example, in Tanzania, we are establishing what we call the Tanzania Ocean Innovation Hub, which is going to be focused on addressing ocean issues, but on youth entrepreneurship and how young people can engage. Personally, I do seaweed farming and I make seaweed ice cream. How many of you have ever tasted seaweed ice cream? It's lovely, right? Yeah. Thank you. So it is more of us having young people at the forefront for them to advocate for ocean conservation, for them to demand for ocean justice, because there has not been justice in ocean. And you're talking about distant water fishing nations. How do you address such issues when you're talking about exploitation of our ocean ecosystems? How do we make them responsible? How do we make everybody responsible in protecting our marine and our oceans? And I would like to end by saying, it is high time you all woke up. It is high time you all spoke for the ocean. The ocean speaks to us through waves. It has been whispering, it has been talking to us, but then we as humans, most of the times we tend to be overwhelmed and to be so much busy doing nothing that we do not even listen to the waves speaking to us. Let us, connect with the ocean. And then once you connect with the ocean, you will really understand what it is demanding for. It is demanding for you to protect it. And you all know that once you protect the ocean, it is going to protect you and me and the next generation to come, and of course the young generation today. And happy Youth Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamin, so much for sharing your experience and energy and brings this view from the youth. And congratulations for the Youth Day for all of us. I mean, some of us are youth for longer time, so but we are all youth all the life. So thank you so much. I think this was the idea of the first round. I want now to open for Q&A, and you can go for the discussion, bringing this first round their views, and once again, trying to make this really a mix. So in the same way we have here different countries, north, south, gender balance, time of youth, or how long you are youth in this panel. The idea was bringing education, science, governance, youth leadership, and there are many other chairs that should be here as Jan brought, and Francesca in her presentation. This is about gender. This is also about culture, arts. There are so many topics that would come here now. And then, with that said, I would like to open for, do you have any questions from the audience? Anyone want to raise a point? So we have one here. So our colleague will help us there.
Thank you. It's a wonderful discussions. Masanori from Ocean Policy Research Institute in Tokyo, Japan. When we promote this ocean science environmental educations, students also ask us what will be the future jobs that they can get right after the graduations. And we also speak to private sectors. We also encourage them to look into startup for new businesses. I just wondered how you try to link your ocean science education with the future career development of your university student. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wants to start? Yeah, so we have this mic here now.
Okay. I'm not from a university, but what we try to do, one of the activities or initiative that we have is called Young Blue Minds, and we organize gathering for young people with experienced people. But the idea is that they help themselves, so it's a peer-to-peer help. So we take them outside into the ocean because it's important that they feel connected. We do some citizen science activities. For example, recently we did an environmental DNA sampling. We select 2 projects that they are working on, and we really create the opportunity for them to help each other. And we try to invite people from different sectors, so not only from ocean science, but from communication, for example, from journalism, from video making, because we want to make sure that they understand, as it was said, that I think for me it's really important that when we do science and the young generation understand that we consider communicating science as much as important as doing science, because it has to be outside, it has to be communicated to the society as a whole, because in this way probably we can get more support for ocean science itself. So that's one of the things that we do, and also of course we organize trainings. And very interestingly, we did a survey with a lot of young people from all around the world. And the first need they express is be trained in science communication. So this is a clear message that we got, that they are really willing to do this, but they need training and tools and techniques. So I think these are some of the activities that we do, and we try to show that you can work in the ocean, big ocean sector, coming from so many different perspectives. I mean, of course, being an ocean scientist is one of the things you can do, but you can also be an entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur. You can be an artist, a journalist, a lawyer, and still, working in because some people are not so much into science and they feel like taken away from the action that we can do to protect the ocean. So every time that we go to school, we tell to young people, you can protect the ocean in many different ways.
Thank you. Anyone else?
We've been talking, Tanya talked about sustainable blue economy, and that is where we talk about promoting blue jobs. How do we make sure that young people understand that if you're working in the ocean space, you are guaranteed of getting a job, a blue job? In terms of, fisheries, we have the fishing industry. In terms of seaweed farming, that is aquaculture or mariculture, they can also be trained and, get direct engagement or involvement. And that is, for the case of Tanzania, we are making the hub an incubator for creating blue jobs for young people, for them to engage in those particular jobs, and of course employ other young people in the process, because we believe in sustainability. And right now we are working on what we call the Sustainable Blue Economy Advocacy Strategy, which is bringing different stakeholders together. That is financial institutions, policymakers, very important because they hold, we all understand. So bringing in the policymakers, the young generation, and then trying to see what are the blue jobs that come within the ocean sector, and how can we engage young people in Tanzania for them to be able to also take part and participate, and of course get something out of it. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I think this brought a very critical issue. And just to give an example in terms of this funding perspective, so there's a global effort called Belmont Forum that does fund, different agencies fund researchers from different countries to work in a specific thematic. And one of the major goals or major metrics of Belmont Forum is to do co-development of the project itself. And on the transdisciplinary perspective, you bring actors from different sectors of that specific thematic, including private sector, including governments, to co-create the project itself. So the scientific project, being seen in that perspective, it opens the opportunity for people that are engaged, or at least to tackle solutions directly related to what's the need for a specific private or the government or the problem itself. So I think that it is a good example that bring different visions on scientific development of a project. So it's this effort has already launched. It's finishing one of this consortia funding, which is called Collaborative Research Actions on Oceans, and there's another one being worked on, and it's going to be launched. So it's I think the major the take-home message on this is basic on how you co-produce, how you bring actors and look to this and to that specific problem, bring science and bring different visions. I think that's it's one way of engaging in open job opportunities and everything.
Thank you. I think that Tanya wants.
A few words for me. In Angola, we converted the agriculture and the fishermen to mariculture. The blue jobs is this for us. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I think we have two more questions here, and then we go for this.
Hi, my name is Mariam from Kenya. I saw Kenya on the map. I wanted, and I'm also from Technical University of Mombasa. Mombasa is a coastal city. So this is the first time I've heard about your program. So I wanted to know how can schools or universities be involved in such programs? Is there a procedure?
Thanks a lot for the question. Actually, the parliament in Mombasa was the first one to discuss the blue curriculum. It was not approved But since I'm an optimistic person, I thought, well, it's already a success that it was discussed. So it seems that is an issue that has been raised in your county. Regarding being part of the Blue Schools, there are several networks, as Ronaldo mentioned. So I think the All Atlantic is finished now, isn't it? It's continuing. So one possibility would be for the All Atlantic. We are, as I was mentioning, trying to set up a global network. And therefore, this is going to happen in the next few months. So keep watching on the oceanliteracy.unesco.org, which is the ocean literacy portal, by the way, for everyone to get ocean literacy information, but also to upload and present your own activities is really the hub. We also currently have, a program called Sea Beyond, which is a program funded by a private donor, but we are coordinating it. So if you want to drop me an email, I can tell you how to join the Sea Beyond. This is for secondary school students and university students. And next year, we're going to work on the Ocean and Climate Nexus.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this wonderful discussion. I have a question from the many ideas and questions I have. I want to raise one aspect. So I'm from Mercator Ocean International and more from the scientific community side. And my question is about the challenge to communicate or transfer the information on the slow emergent change of the ocean. And it's a change which is committed for a long time. And so we need to adapt and we need to develop and co-design information, also data and knowledge to support these adaptation plans which need to start now and which need to be in place for a long time, but also need to consider cultural and local needs. So my question is, how is there already activity or how could the youth engagement, such as, for example, specific projects at high school level to think about what would be adaptation measures in specific regions like ateliers, that could help, for example, to engage them, but because they know the area, they know the needs, and these are the generation which will need to have these adaptation measures in place. Thank you.
Does anyone wants to start, or I can even start from this one, just saying. I go back for the word or the concept Jean also mentioned from the co-production. What we do in the Blue Schools in a situation like this is just going to the schools and raising the topic and say, what do you think? Giving them the challenge and let them identifying the local realities, the local options. And of course, then is when comes a lot the importance of the scientific community to be able and available to talk with them when they want, because they need more from the contents. And then they start to request, oh, I want to talk with a scientist on this topic, on that topic, because I want to understand this and that. And at the end, they present what they have done. And I can really tell you, can come things very strong. We had Blue Schools that had influenced public policies in their cities already for plastic removal. We have cases like that in Portugal, in Brazil, in Argentina. So they managed to do a project and at the end call the mayor and say, we want this going on. And which mayor you not accepted the demand for hundreds of students, youth ones? Because that means votes, let's say the truth. And they influence, they advocate very strongly. Anyone else? Yeah, I think Jean.
Could I just make a very quick point on that?
Yeah. So Jean, and then we have the last question there.
Okay, a very quick point on this. I think that dialogues a lot of governance. How you bring this? So I really congratulate the Blue School. They're just a fantastic effort, but it has to permeate in terms of curricula, in terms of governance, how this sensibilize different levels in terms of country education strategies. And one last thing I want to just say that it's very important is that how the ocean pavilions get strength within the COP. So we're not seeing ocean as just a part of the climate model. And you talked about adaptation. So a lot of this has to go to ocean as well in several perspectives. And the education is critical on this, but governance is critical on that too. So dialogue with decision makers in terms of changing behavior, changing strategy, and changing a way of dealing with, with the whole. This whole system is absolutely critical. And I think this is, it's getting strength within the COP, which is, well, it has to be faster, it has to be stronger, but it's good that it's here.
Thank you. So can we have the final questions there?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrea Clayton from Jamaica. I'm a lecturer at the Caribbean Maritime University, which sits right on the ocean, on the Kingston Harbor. And I also lead a I call it a volunteer organization, because that's what we are, called Earth Ambassadors. And part of what we do, so I'm very encouraged by the Blue Schools. And it's not really a question, it's to say I'm very encouraged by it. Because I'm an economist by training. But when I started working at the university a few years ago, I started noticing the amount of garbage in the harbor. And that led to some research with the students on campus, but ultimately to the formation of Earth Ambassadors. And one of the things that we do, recognizing the relationship between what happens on the land and what happens in the ocean, because we're an island, we're a small island. Most people know us because of Usain Bolt and Bob Marley, but there are 3 million people there. And, but one of the programs that we have is where we actually go into schools, and we've started in the primary and prep schools. And it's difficult to get support for it. So again, I'm very encouraged by the Blue Schools Initiative, where we are providing training or education to the children in the primary and prep school. So we call them our junior ambassadors, just to teach them about how to protect their land space and the connection it makes to the ocean. And I could relate to what you said about the persons in Tanzania. They can't swim, and we're an island state. So that connection, they just see the sea as where you go for sun, sand, and sea, because that's the tourism model that we sell, but not anything beyond the shores. And you're finding that parents are actually coming up now to saying, because of the program, the children are coming home and telling them that they need to stop doing this and stop doing that. So you're seeing the connection from the training to the behavioral change that you inferred to earlier. And I had a journalist ask me, how will you know that you've succeeded in this program? Because you're not seeing anything happening. And my response is, I may not see it now, but I'll see it 20 years from now when these are the same people who are going to be making the decisions in Parliament and in businesses. So I want to encourage you to see as best as possible to expand this model, because we're now looking at scaling up to the high schools where they will become our youth ambassadors. And our challenge for our groups each year, this is our second year, and in this second year we have them, instead of tossing things, so the focus this year is on reusing. And so you would be surprised that these little 8- and 9-year-old children have come up with a business plan to establish thrift stores in their schools, so things do not end up in the landfill, which then, or in the just outside, and then ends up in the ocean. So if we can start and we've started, but if we can continue that work, it might be frustrating now, but we have the experienced ones among us to help us learn about what not to do. And then we have the youthful exuberance of the young generation. And that combination in a systematic approach to problem solving, I think will give us a more sustainable and long-term positive result. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. What a great day to, a great way to end our session. We just reached our time, so I want to thank you so much, all the panelists, for sharing your experiences, your views, and all the audience for your contribution. And I invite you to join me in a big applause for our panelists. That's good. Thank you all.